to be very helpful. Today, I'm going to run you through quality management setup, which will lead us into where we set up the quality results that the inspections will create. We will go through a couple quality tests, which are then grouped on quality inspection templates, which will then we will create inspection generation rules to automatically create those to use those templates to create inspections. And then we'll go through a receiving example, having those inspections automatically created, and we'll transact on those and showing the pass and fail result. I'm going to change screens for a second. All right, hang on. There we go. Okay. One of the first things that you need to do if you want to start using quality management in Business Central is you need to verify that is actually installed in your environment. If it's a new environment that is created after 28 was released, quality management will be installed. Otherwise, what has tricked some people up is that it actually needs to be installed as an extension if you've upgraded from 28. Once you verify that the extension's been installed, you then will have the ability to change your role center to a quality manager role, which I have here. And at that point, we would want to get into our setup to start being able to transact inspections. One of the first things that you need to do that's very familiar to Business Central is set up quality inspection numbers for the quality inspections. Like some other document numbers and stuff like that, I really like to use a year signifier for that, and that goes back to kind of the audits and stuff. A big enough organization, the quality inspections could get extremely, there could be a lot of them, and being able to filter among years would be very helpful for auditors. There really isn't that much. Yes.
You then have to change it at the end of the year?
Yes, that's what I would do. Again, it depends. It's not a necessary. That's just a helpful tip that I've seen from my experience in quality and audits. If you being able to like narrow that down right then and there would be very helpful. I do hope that this could be something that Business Central and Microsoft will help in the future. Some other examples of a quality QMS system that I've seen, they will actually allow you to change that per inspection, per test and stuff like that. Right now, you can only do it as a high level for all your inspections. So that's one of the reasons that I suggest to do the 26. But yeah, using this strategy, I would change it at the end of the year. It's not necessary though. You could just have one number that just keeps incrementing like a normal number series.
Okay, thanks.
It really isn't that much setup currently in the system. Some of the more important ones are inspection creation option. If you're starting to just test and want to see the functionality of the system, I highly suggest always create a new inspection. Then you're not being limited by when you're trying to create tests, whether manually or automatically. But you do have these many options for the creation. The one when I'm actually using it in practical use, I like create a reinspection if matching inspection is finished. That's basically saying like if there's an inspection, it'll open that one. If that inspection has been finished, it'll create a reinspection, which I'll be able to show a little bit later. Going down to these generation rule triggers, a lot of these are defaults. So when I show the inspection generation rules in a little bit, these would default them to and if we look at like purchase orders, it would default it to when the order is received or released. Same thing with the production orders. I'm not a fan of the defaults right now. When we get to the inspection generation rules, you actually have a more granular control on the lines. So that's the one that I've been using, and it's what I would suggest at the time too. You are able to automate bin movements, reclassifications, and inventory adjustments based on quality results, or do them manually through options on the quality inspection. So you can pick default batch names, but you can also create journal names that are more representative of quality. One of the real important ones on the item tracking, and this kind of goes to one of my biggest suggestions that I would like Microsoft to look into, is that the item tracking before finishing is again a high level setup field, kind of like the number series. I would like to see that maybe be a little bit more granular on reports, because what it's basically saying is that they're going to allow me to finish a test without item tracking on it. I think a lot of times where quality inspections are going to be very useful is you're going to want that item tracking, but you also want that ability to maybe do inspections on work centers or routings or something like that. So right now, if you wanted to do item tracking and not item tracking, you have to just allow without it. Not a fan of that, to be honest with you, and I hope that's something that they look at down the future. But if you do want to do both, you have to allow without item tracking, and that still allows you to put item tracking into the inspections. Because it's a relatively new extension that Microsoft has released, there are some nuances. And one of the things that I've seen trick myself up and some other people that I've communicated with is that you have to go up to here in the related and you go down to advanced, and there's this source configuration table. And if you just installed the extension, you probably just want to open it up. In the beginning, when I was testing this, if you did not do this, and I've seen this kind of brought up on Viva and stuff too, when we get into the source generation rules, if you don't kind of open this table up and load it, the test generation rules will fail. So it's very simple to just open it up, but I recommend that until they push a fix. What the quality inspection source configurations are is basically where they're pulling the data for the inspections to fill the inspections, whether it's lot numbers, item numbers, descriptions, and stuff like that. This table clearly is locked right here. You're not able to edit directly from here, but you can use configuration packages and add to this table. I think they did a pretty good job of giving you a lot of options. The only one that I've seen, well, there's two of them that I've kind of added in some of my testing. One is I would actually add the quality inspection table in here to fill the quality inspection table, and I was able to use that to automate corrective action reports and then have them connected to that original inspection. What I think would be more useful for a lot of people is I've actually configuration packaged in the location table, which if you have multiple facilities and you have to do external inspections or internal inspections, you can then connect them to the location, which I think is really handy. It is a little cumbersome by having to do configuration packages. It's another thing that I hope Microsoft looks at in the future. When you first install the extension, I haven't been able to test really one that just opened with 28, and I'm not sure if other data comes in that way, but when you install it from App Source, a lot of the data is actually missing. So one of the first things that you want to do, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, because gives you a lot of control over what you're doing. The quality inspection results are going to be what the results are based on the inspections that you did, and then what restrictions are you going to put on that. For example, here we'll put in progress. And that's an evaluations sequence. It's the first one. And what it's doing is this is what's going to be open when an inspection's created. And why that's important is we are able to then put restrictions on that item. Meaning, if I receive an item or if I produce an item and it's automatically created an inspection test, we don't want that item that's waiting for an inspection to be sold. So we can block that in purchases and transfers. And you get a lot of control over that all the way through whether you movement. Honestly, in progress, I would probably put everything, I would block everything. For the sake of the demo and time, we'll kind of just move forward. None of this stuff will get in the way. But again, in progress, I would block everything. The next thing I would do is a fail. You can see that the evaluation sequence has increased, and you can see that the result category has now been filled in with not acceptable. One thing too I should have pointed out is that when you're in progress, you cannot finish the test unless you fill out all of the required fields. In the fail, we will allow it to be finished. And same thing again, I would probably go through and block for the sake of time. I won't do everything. If I was in a fail, there's certain things I would maybe leave open, like allow transfer or inventory movement. If we had some automation or manual steps to move them to quality hold bins or something like that. Lastly, we'll put a pass result in. And again, I would leave everything open. One thing I want to point out, and I think it's really good for me to show it. So we're gonna leave these result visibilities as configuration. When we get in the test, we'll jump right back and I'll show you why that's important. This is another thing that I've seen trip a lot of people up. This has been probably one of the harder things to deal with because it's not necessarily identified, but it gives you an issue when you're trying to put the pass and fail conditions on a test. So to show that real quick, we'll go back into our quality management setup. We'll go into our quality tests, which I have a couple set up today. But if we were to go into foreign material test right now, we can see that there's not actually an area where we can fill in our pass or fail criteria. And then this is where I was saying this is tripped myself up and a lot of people. So what we actually needed to make sure when we go into our results is that these need to be promoted. And why that's extra important too is you can do more than 3 results. You could, in theory, you could have good, excellent, rework, and then if you promote those fields, they're going to allow you to use Business Central syntax to create those ranges. What would grade those? For the demo today, we're just going to work with fail and pass. Now you can see when we go into the quality test, now our result conditions are visible. And it's really important. You can't create the pass or fail conditions otherwise. When creating a test, you have a couple options of the test value type. You have decimal, integer, Boolean, text option, table lookup, dates, label, and expression. Most of them are pretty familiar. What table lookup allows you to do is it creates a quality test lookup table. It puts values into the quality test lookup table where you can use, where it kind of fills in through a drop down. And where we would fill that in is up here, we go into our foreign material, and here we would do none, and we can do minor. So now that this test, you can see up here in the allowable values, now we have those options to pick from instead of typing them in every time. To do our pass condition, we'll type none in, which fills in the pass description. We can overwrite the pass description if needed. Fail condition here, we'll just put in not empty. And you have to put something in the fail condition because if you leave it just blank, the test will generate with a fail condition rather than an in progress condition. You can fill that stuff in directly on the tests, but what we can also do is we can go to our inspection templates, which gives you a little bit more control. I have created a template ready for us, package 12-ounce coffee. So this is where we can come in and we can add our tests. What a template is, it's a grouping of tests, and then that would allow us to have whether the condition is a pass or fail for the entire inspection. But if we were to do grind size, and we do moisture content, and we'll do net weight. And then this is where we could set these on these individual tests, but something that I've found very helpful is doing them actually over here. So for grind size, if we look, is an integer, we can do about maybe 400 microns to 500 for grind size. This is moisture content with a UOM of percentage. We'll do 10.5 or 10.5, and then it uses that filtering syntax that Business Central does. And you could see in, actually, I should go back to this one. Like the fail condition here, we could do major, minor. So that's very familiar from Business Central. And then the grouping for weight, we'll do 340 to 360. So now this to what we've defined here is what good looks like on this test. And we scroll over. Right now, we don't know how to create this test. So that's where we go up to inspection generation rules. And this is what's going to allow us to figure out where and when this test can be automatically created. We'll pull this up. This is the intent. These are the defaults in Business Central. These actually can't be changed through configuration packages or anything. But for this instance, we're going to use purchase. And then we have to pick the table that we're looking at. And for this example, we'll do purchase line. And then this is where you get some of your condition filters to clearly we don't want, maybe we don't want this inspection result to be on everything. For coffee, for instance, what we can do is bring up item category code and filter that to beans. And now this automatic inspection generation rule is only going to work where the item category is beans. You have to scroll over a little bit farther to the right. And this is where I was saying before, you can set up on the setup table to default here. But when you have a lot of inspection generation rules, I like having a little bit more control over here. So this is where I decide to choose that a lot of times. And what we're going to do is I'm going to set that as when the purchase order is received, it's going to generate this test. So now I'm going to create a purchase order. Fill in the customer. Scroll down to our lines. We'll add a lot track bag of coffee. I will fill in the location. We'll receive 100. We will add some item tracking. And we will receive it. As you can see, once that's been received, because we set up the inspection generation rule, an inspection has been created automatically, and we can open it directly from here. The source generation has mapped some of the fields, brought in the description, the location. You can see our item number, our lot number. There is our document number. There's some other very helpful stuff, especially in a quality environment, is you can see when it was started, the last modification, when it was finished. These are really important for audits and examples of how many inspections for this record exist. If we scroll down farther, I can see that I didn't change the thing that I said earlier where I need to put the empty side in. So those are fail automatically, but they should be all right. In the end, we'll say that there was no foreign material classification. We'll say we had a 450 grind size. We've got a moisture content percentage of 11. And the net weight, we will say we got 350. And now we can see that all results have passed. And if we go up here, we can see that the result of the inspection is also passed. Once this is finished, then that's going to allow that in the results, those permissions. So had we blocked everything in progress or in fail, then those restrictions would have been there. So we can finish that now. So now that item has been inspected and per the results would be released for transfer, consumption, or sale. I know we're a little short on time, but I'd like to show just the an unhappy path real quick and what we can do with that. We'll make another purchase order real quick. We'll get the same beans. Again, we can see that a quality inspection has been created. We will open that inspection. We will get these to say pass. Same results as before. But this time with the foreign material classification, we're going to have some minor foreign material. And we can see that that has failed then at that point. This is where you have some options after we finish this test with a fail. We can see that we have a sample size of 5. This is where we have actions, and these could be automated with power automated workflows. For the sake of the demo, I didn't take too much time with that. But for instance, an example of something that we could do in this point is those items that we tested that have foreign material, we might want to just get them right out of inventory right now. And this allows us to do that. So we can see that right now we'll just only move the sample quantity. Let's say we only checked 5 bags. So that's the only thing that we want to do. We'll go down here, we'll post that immediately. And without going to any other journal, we just took the sample size of 5 out. So, and the reason for that is I'm thinking, hey, those were just some bad samples. We don't want to throw all 100 out again. So one other option that you have as a correction to a fail is after that, we can create a reinspection. And what that does is that opens up the same document number, but then increments a reinspection number, which connects it back. So you could have multiple reinspections and you don't lose that traceability from the initial inspection. So, and then this is the same way where, let's say that fail had locked the disposition of that product. This is also where we could fix that. So now we come in, we've tested another 5. Everything's looking good. And finish that. And then that inventory would be available for everything that we defined on the inspection again. One thing I'd like to show right before I'm done is that if we look up that item and look in the item ledger, when it does create these negative adjustments, it's very clear when and why that's happening, even though it's automated in the background. This can be set up to work with all types of transactions, mostly with purchases, sales returns, and it also can be implemented with production orders. With complete setups and quality management becomes a part of daily operations instead of a separate task. Inspections are triggered at the right time, results are tracked in real time, and issues are caught early. This ensures consistent product quality while giving the business clear visibility and control across the entire process. I've seen a lot of times where there's been paper records and something has failed an inspection and it still made it on a truck and got out of there. So what this does is it automates that and really prevents that from happening in the future. I appreciate your time, and are there any questions?
So you said you could you could do it on a return, I mean, on sales return, so you would inspect the return before you brought in the inventory, or you just put it on you assign the inspection to the return process, I guess.
It's the similar way where we go into our source configuration and inspection generation rules. If you look in the source inspection configurations, we have this sales return to inspect right here, which allows us then to create an inspection template using that as an inspection generation rule. So for example, as we have this pack 12-ounce coffee set up for purchasing right now, we could also have the same thing set up for sales returns. If somebody was doing an RMA or
right.
returning. So,
Okay, makes sense. Nice. Anybody else have any questions? That was insightful. I appreciate the time today.
thank you.